Alright, we're going to start with the lesson 11, the checkpoint, and we're going to start at the very bottom. So, question oh, damn. Okay, welcome to lesson 11. We are going to start with the checkpoints, and we're going to start with question 10. Use the diagram, information, and proof to complete the proof. Given line M is parallel to line N, prove the measure of angle 7 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. So they are specifically talking about this angle right here in the corner and this angle right here. They want us to prove that adding those two angles together is going to equal 180 degrees. So the statements on this, statement 1 is M is parallel to N. That's given. It's given right up here. If you can see that. So they're just restating that right there. And then 2, angle 1 and angle 7 are blank. Definition of blank. So if we look at angle 1 and angle 7, what are they? So this is where we're going to use the notes, the Unit 3 review theorems, and we're going to see what they are. If I'm scanning this on lesson 11, adjacent angles, vertical angles, they do not have two parallel lines. So I'm going to be scanning for a parallel line. Okay, right here we hit a transversal. Interior angles inside the region. Well, 1 and 7 are not inside that region. So exterior angles, they're outside our region. Okay, so we have exterior angles 1 and 7. And then I'm scanning, this is alternate interior. I need an exterior. So we scan down, same side, interior. Nope, they're not interior. Alternate exterior angles. Two angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal and non-adjacent exterior angles. So I notice in this, angle 1 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles. So that is what blank A would be. 1 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. So it's just defining what they are. So I'm going to click on A and look for alternate exterior angles. Drag it and release. Okay, that means statement 3, angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Blank theorem. That's the alternate exterior theorem again. 4, measure of angle 1 is equal to measure of angle 7. Definition of blank. Okay, we know that they're congruent, so by knowing that they are congruent, we know that they have the same measure. So definition of its definition of congruent angles. And then it states that angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. Definition of linear pair. Angle 1 and angle 2 are blank. Linear pair postulate. So I'm going to scan the notes for the linear pair postulate in this left-hand column. So if we scan them on the left-hand column, the linear pair postulate. Okay, here's the linear pair. Two angles that have adjacent angles on shared sides form a straight line. So we're looking for they are going to be supplementary angles because of the linear pair postulate. And then that means the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees. If you notice on the reasons definition of C, that is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and then if we look at 8, measure of angle 7 plus measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees, blank D. So what happened here? Well, if I look at statement 7, they had measure of angle 1, and in statement 8, they had measure of angle 7. And they are stating back in statement 4 that measure of angle 1 is equal to measure of angle 7. So they substituted 1 and 7 with 7. So there is our first proof. Our second one, use the diagram, information, and proof to complete the proof. Given measure line M is parallel to line N, prove that angle 2 is congruent to angle 8. So on this we're proving that angle 2 is congruent to angle 8. This is our this is proving our alternate exterior angles. So if I wanted to scan for an example proof, maybe there is one. Okay, there's an example proof alternate interior, example proof alternate exterior. And I'm going to just go through this and see if they have similar reasons. So statement 1 is a given. And we are given that lines P is parallel to line Q. And so then it says, in our example, definition of corresponding angles. So in our question 12, in our question 9, angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles. That's true. Definition of corresponding angles. Then it goes on to state that angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, corresponding angles postulate. And then it says angle 6 and angle 8 are blank. Definition of blank. So if I go down here to the statement 5, in our example proof it says angles 5 and 7 are vertical angles. Definition of vertical angles. That is exactly what 6 and 8 are in our example. If you notice, in our example proof we had 5 and 7. Those are vertical angles. And if you notice in our question, 6 and 8, those are vertical angles. So it is vertical angles. And then it goes on to say, in our statements example, angle 5 is congruent to angle 7, which in our question that says angle 6 is congruent to angle 8, and the reason is blank. So then I'm going to look at our reason here, and it says vertical angle theorem. And that is what follows. So it is the vertical angle theorem. And there is our example proof for that. And I'm going to share with you today another set of tools to help you. And this one is how to not feed into someone that is trying to hurt your feelings. And so this is by Marissa Peer. She is a therapist in England and the UK, and she helps celebrities all over the world, and this is her tactic. So she says the first thing to do when someone says something mean or attacks you, so someone says, that shirt looks horrible on you, the first response is you don't have to let it in. So you can say, thank you for sharing that, and just go on your day. The reason why you say thank you for sharing that is because you are not allowing their opinion to affect or enter into your mindset of how you think of this shirt. You don't have to defend yourself and you don't have to explain yourself. You just say thank you for sharing that, and then you keep moving on. And a lot of times most of the people who are attacking you will feel satisfied. One, because you acknowledged that they said something, but you didn't feed into it, and you didn't feed into it. So you just say, thank you for sharing that, and move on. And that's a big key to not allowing someone to attack you and to let their opinion into your mindset. It's just by saying, thanks for sharing that. And so now the next question that we're going to do is question 8. Use the diagram, information, and proof to complete the proof. Given measure M is parallel to N, the measure of angle 8 is 80 degrees. Prove that the measure of angle 3 is equal to 100 degrees. Okay, so we want to prove that this angle right here is 100 degrees. So we first think, well, what's the relationship between angle 3? If this is 100, whoops. Oh, I want to prove that this is 100. So we're given, we're not given angle 8 is 100 degrees, we're given that it's 80. Okay, we want to prove that this one's 100, so we need to look through here and see what connections they've made. Alright, so angle 2 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles. So they're comparing angle 8 with angle 2, stating that they are alternate exterior angles. That means that angle 2 is congruent to angle 8, alternate exterior angles theorem. That means that they have the same angle measure. So that means that 2 is also 80 degrees. And then they're stating angle 2 and angle 3 form a linear pair. Right here, do they form a line? If I took these two angles, can I make a straight line? That's true. Definition of a linear pair. That means that angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. That's our linear pair postulate. So, question A is supplementary. Blank A. And then, measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180 degrees. Definition of, that was our blank A, supplementary. So then I noticed these reasons, 8 and 9's reason is the same. So I'm looking at 8. It says measure of angle 8 plus measure of angle 3. So what changed from statement 7 to statement 8? And what changed was they replaced measure of angle 2 with the measure of angle 8. And that is substitution. And I want to make sure that that reason holds for statement 9. And if you notice, they replaced the statement 8 with 80 degrees. That is substitution. They're all equal. Angle 2 equals angle 8, which equaled 80 degrees. And so we're substituting that equality. And so B is our substitution property of equality. And then measure of angle 3 equals 180 degrees, blank. So they took 80 degrees and subtracted it from 180 to be left with measure of angle 3. Okay, so we have that C is going to be our substitution property of equality, our subtraction, because they took 80 from 180 to have 100 degrees. So it's our subtraction property of equality. Now question 9. Use the diagram, information, and proof to complete the proof. Line M is parallel to line N. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. So if we notice M is parallel to N, that's given. Angle 1 and angle 7 are blank, definition of blank. Okay, so angle 1 and 7. Now if you notice, they're on the outside, and they are, if you wanted to scan, they are alternate exterior angles. If you notice 1 right here and 7 right there, it's in the same setup. So angle 1 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles. So click A, alternate exterior angles, and then angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. The reason for B is the alternate exterior angles theorem. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. So do we have parallel lines? Yes, it was given right there. And these two are cut by the transversal L, and they are alternate exterior angles. So by that theorem, they are congruent. Alright, use the figure to answer the question. So I'm noticing that we're not given that M and N are parallel, so I can't assume that. So if angle 3 and angle 6 are supplementary, which answer choice can be used to justify the statement that M is parallel to N? Okay, so let's look at what angle 3 is and angle 6. So they are, first notice that they are inside and on the same side. They're both on the right side of that transversal. So if I'm scanning our notes for help, if you notice, this is converse of alternate interior angle theorem. So I'm looking for same side and they're inside. And so I'm going to look for same side interior angle theorem. So this says if two parallel lines, the converse of the same side interior angles. If two lines are cut by a transversal in such a way that a pair of same side interior angles are supplementary, then the two lines are parallel. Okay, well we have the exact same thing. Angle 1 and angle 2, it's just called angle 3 and angle 6 on ours. And it is, if they are supplementary, then we can say the converse of the same side interior angles theorem justifies the statement M is parallel to N. And then use our diagram here. So given that angle 3 is congruent to angle 5, prove that M is parallel to N. So we're looking for the converses of this because we're proving that the lines are parallel. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. That's given. Angle 3 and angle 5 are blank, definition of blank. So if I'm scanning the pictures, they are on the inside part and they are on opposite sides. So that means that they are, this one's outside, but they are on opposite sides. So I need to look for the inside. So alternate interior angles. And this is the converse of alternate interior angle theorem. If two lines are cut by a transversal in such a way that a pair of alternate interior angles are congruent, then the two lines are parallel. Okay, well we have alternate interior angles. That is what was given. And we were also given that they were congruent. So since we were given that they were congruent, that means we can say that m is parallel to n by the converse of the alternate interior angles theorem. And it was right there in our notes. So there's your help for you today. Equals 100 degrees.